human fighter spared her life in the arena. She chose an unforgettable way to thank him. The roar of tens of thousands of alien spectators shook the domed amphitheater, the noise crashing over Mark Halden in relentless waves. The air vibrated with anticipation and the sharp electric tang of ozone. Mark stood in the blood-stained sand, his lungs burning, sweat stinging the old scar that curved across his jaw. His hand clenched a ceremonial spear, its etched shaft slick beneath his white-knuckled grip. At his feet, Lyra of Clan Soren glared up at him, her blue skin streaked with dust, golden-orange eyes lit by a stubborn pride that defied defeat. Her feline whiskers quivered, delicate and fierce as she bared her teeth. Her ears, furred and sharply pointed, flattened against her skull in a silent dare, while her long, sinuous tail curled defensively around her narrow waist. The crowd's chant for blood thundered through the air, echoing off crystalline walls and high, transparent ceilings. In the balcony above, Arcan overseers loomed in iridescent robes, their multifaceted eyes as cold and unmoved as cut glass. Mark's breath shuddered in his chest. He met Lyra's gaze, searching for something. Hatred, fear, anything to justify what the crowd demanded. Instead, he found only a fierce clarity, a silent plea. Neither of them dared to speak aloud. In that charged instant, understanding sparked between them. They were both unwilling pawns, cornered and displayed, gladiators for a cause that was never their own. The spear trembled in Mark's hand. He could feel the weight of thousands watching, waiting for him to finish her, to become a monster in order to survive. But he refused. With a guttural cry, he drove the spear not into flesh, but into sand, the blade biting deep beside Lyra's shoulder. He let go, the weapon quivering upright, a symbol broken, a ritual defied. For a heartbeat, time froze. Then chaos erupted. A wave of outrage crashed through the amphitheater, the chant for blood twisting into a howl of betrayal. The crowd surged against the barriers, some flinging objects onto the arena floor. Up in their crystalline box, the Arcan overseers rose as one, their faces inscrutable. Guards in matte black armor stormed the sands, stun batons flickering with blue fire. Lyra's surprise flickered across her face, quickly replaced by a flash of admiration. She rolled to her feet in one fluid, feline motion, dust scattering from her limbs. Mark offered her a hand, and she took it, her grip hot and unexpectedly strong. "Try to keep up, Offworlder," she teased, breathless, her pink hair bouncing as she sprinted toward the maintenance hatch at the edge of the arena. The words were light, but her voice trembled with urgency. Mark grinned, despite the adrenaline. "Lead the way, Whiskers." They bolted together, weaving through the chaos. Energy blasts scorched the air behind them, searing holes in the sand. Mark bulldozed a stunned guard aside, clearing a path, while Lyra leapt and twisted, impossibly agile, her tail streaming behind her. A discarded riot shield clanged at Mark's feet. He scooped it up, deflecting a crackling baton as they reached the hatch. Lyra's claws flashed, slicing the access panel. The door hissed open and they dove inside, plunging into the gloom beneath the city. The tunnel's walls glowed with faint blue light, phosphorescent algae painting shifting patterns on Mark's battered boots. The scent of damp stone and old metal mingled with the fading echo of the arena above. Mark stumbled, exhaustion clawing at him, but Lyra's hand caught his arm, steadying him. Her touch jolted through him, hot and electric. She was close, closer than she had ever been in the ring. Her breath soft against his cheek, golden eyes wide and searching. Mark swallowed hard. "Why did you do it?" she whispered, her voice barely more than a ripple in the hush. He hesitated, then said quietly, "I saw something in you. Courage. I couldn't be what they wanted me to be. Not with you." A flicker of something, surprise, maybe trust, softened her features. Her tail twitched, then stilled, curling against his side. For a moment the world above faded away, leaving only the quiet thrum of their hearts and the trembling blue light. "Maybe you're not as dumb as you look, human," Lyra murmured, the edge of her mouth lifting in a fleeting smile. Mark let out a shaky breath. "Don't let it get around." Footsteps thundered in the tunnel behind them. The spell broke. Both turned, pressing back into the shadows behind a wide conduit. Lyra's body pressed against his, every muscle coiled and ready. "They'll be hunting us now," Mark said, voice low. "I know these tunnels," Lyra replied, her ears swiveling, "and I know the Council's secrets run deeper than you think." He watched her, catching the glint of something sharp and calculating in her eyes. "What do you mean?" She glanced away, her whiskers flicking. "There are rumors. The games are rigged. The Council's power. It's not just politics or money. It's something darker. Something hidden in the Undercity." Before he could press her, the sound of pursuit grew louder. Boots striking metal. Static-charged shouts echoing down the tunnel. Then, somewhere in the darkness, a coded whistle echoed through the pipes, a three-note pattern that made Lyra's ears perk up. A grin split her face. "Jax," she breathed, relief flooding her features. "He found us." She grabbed Mark's hand, tugging him forward. As the hunt closed in behind them, hope flared in Mark's chest. Together, they plunged deeper into the city's labyrinth, chasing the signal that might lead to freedom, or to the heart of the secrets that bound them both. Jax, a gruff Corellian draped in a battered cloak, led Mark and Lyra through the tangle of the Undercity's outskirts. His silver scales caught the faint light in shifting patterns, the ridges along his jaw twitching with irritation each time Mark's boots scuffed too loudly or Lyra risked a glance behind them. The ruined mansions looming on either side bore the ghostly grandeur of a forgotten era, their shattered crystal windows now patched with scrap metal and synth fabric, their marble steps colonized by grime and moss. They ducked beneath a toppled archway, Jack signaling with a flick of his clawed hand. "Stay close. The others don't trust outsiders." Inside, the mansion's cavernous halls had become a makeshift refuge. Escaped fighters, humans, Corellians, Soren and more, clustered in corners or sharpened blades beneath hanging strips of torn banners. The air reeked of old blood, disinfectant, and barely suppressed suspicion. Eyes followed Mark, hard and unfriendly. A burly Soren, fur matted and one ear missing, spat at Mark's feet as they passed. "Council's pet here? He'll sell us out the first chance he gets." Lyra wheeled, her pink bob swinging. "He risked his life for me in the sand. If you want me, you take him too." The Soren grumbled but fell back. Jax grunted approval, leading them deeper. "You vouch for him, Lyra, he stays, but he steps out of line." "He won't." Lyra's tail lashed once, daring anyone to argue. They found a spot near a cracked fireplace where the faint warmth of a hidden generator hummed. Mark eased Lyra down, her injuries more serious than she admitted. A deep cut along her shoulder oozed sluggishly, staining her blue skin. "Hold still," Mark murmured, tearing a strip from his sleeve. His hands were rough, knuckles swollen and raw, yet his touch was gentle as he cleaned the wound. Lyra hissed, but didn't pull away. "You don't have to," she whispered. He shrugged, concentrating. "I want to." Their closeness drew attention. Whispers coiled through the room, alien and human voices alike, threading through the gloom. Mark caught fragments. She trusts him. A human, helping a Soren. Maybe there's hope. He tried to ignore it, though he felt the weight of each stare. A figure approached, quiet as a shadow. Mira, slim and sharp-eyed, her skin a shifting bronze, paused at the edge of the firelight. You're Mark Halden, she said, voice flat. Depends who's asking. Jax grunted. She's with us, human. Mira was once counsel. She knows their games. Another joined them, a broad-shouldered woman with a cybernetic arm, grease stains smeared up to her cheekbones. Dex dropped a heavy pack with a clatter. And I'm Dex. Weapons, tech, sabotage, you name it. Mira cut to the chase. You're both in danger. The match wasn't random. It was orchestrated. Mark frowned. By who? Dex's jaw tightened. Someone high up. Bets were placed not just on the outcome, but on both of you surviving. Now the council's furious. Jax's tail flicked, silver scales bristling. The council only fears what it can't control. If they're hunting you this hard, you threaten something fundamental. Mark absorbed this in silence, glancing at Lyra. What is it they're so afraid of? Lyra looked down, her gold-orange eyes shadowed. There are old stories. The amphitheater was built on ruins, before the city, before the council. My grandmother said the games weren't always for sport. Mira leaned in, her gaze intent. What were they for? To keep something asleep, Lyra said softly, her tail curling protectively. Blood, sacrifice, offerings to whatever lies beneath. Mark felt a chill snake down his spine. You think the games are a ritual? Dex's mechanical fingers drummed restlessly on her knee. The council uses the games to cement their power, but maybe it's more than that. Maybe they need the blood. Jax bared his teeth. They need us to believe it's just for spectacle, keeps the city docile. But if it's about the old magic, Mira finished for him. Then the council's power isn't just political, it's something older, darker. A heavy silence fell. The distant hum of the generator seemed suddenly ominous. Mark stared at the bandages on Lyra's shoulder, his thoughts racing. If that's true, we have to prove it. Break their hold. Jax nodded. We need evidence. Records, history, something the council can't bury. Mira spoke quickly, tension sharpening her words. There's only one place, the city archives. Abandoned after the last uprising, but council records may still be there. Dex glanced at Lyra. You're the only one who might get us inside. You grew up near the council. You know the codes. The routines? Lyra hesitated, her hand drifting to the old, faded tattoo on her wrist. I remember stories about hidden doors. My mother used to sneak me through the old servants' tunnels. But it won't be easy. The archives are haunted by more than ghosts. Mark caught her hand, squeezing it gently. We've faced worse. I'm with you. She met his gaze, something fragile and fierce flickering in her eyes. Thank you, Mark. Jack straightened, shoulders set. We move at first dark. No lights, no noise. Dex, you're on tech. Disable any alarms. Mira, you cover our backs. Dex grinned. Finally, a challenge. Mira's eyes narrowed. If the council knows we're coming, they don't, Jax growled. And if they find out, we're dead anyway. The plan settled over them like a cloak. Mark listened as the others debated routes, dangers, escape plans. He felt the old soldier's tension not in his chest, but for the first time since he'd arrived on this world, he also felt hope. Lyra's presence beside him, her shoulder warm against his, made the fear bearable. A little later, as the makeshift camp quieted, Lyra found Mark alone at a broken window, the city's neon haze flickering in the distance. She leaned on the sill beside him. Why did you help me, really? You could have escaped alone. Mark shook his head, searching for words. I saw something in you. You weren't afraid. Not really. I wanted to believe in that. She studied his face, her own softening. If we survive this, you'll see a lot more. Soren don't run from the truth. Neither do you, apparently. Mark smiled, A tired, crooked thing. Guess we'll find out. Behind them, Dex called softly. Time to move. The small group gathered at the hidden exit, tension simmering but resolve set. Jax led the way, his scales glinting in the dark, while Mira and Dex checked their gear one last time. Mark took Lyra's hand, feeling the tremor of nerves and courage there. They slipped into the night, a band of fugitives and rebels bound by fragile hope and a mission that could shatter the city's foundations. The secrets of the Blood Games and the truth of Lyra's past awaited in the silent heart of the abandoned archives. The archives sprawled before them, a fractured labyrinth of shattered glass, humming data crystals, and collapsed shelving. Phantom blue light flickered from broken terminals, painting jagged shadows across the dust-choked corridors. Every step Mark took crunched on the debris of forgotten centuries, his boots echoing in the vast, haunted silence. Dex and Mira stayed behind to keep watch at the entrance, while Jax guarded the rear, his silver scales vanishing into the gloom. Lyra moved ahead, tail swaying, her feline eyes narrowed with wary determination. She paused, glancing back at Mark. "You sure you know how to handle their security?" Mark wiped sweat from his brow, shifting uneasily. "I've seen my share of locks. Just none like these." He knelt at a crystalline terminal, the alien glyphs swirling in dizzying patterns across its surface. Mark's calloused fingers hovered, hunting for logic among the chaos. He poked at a sequence, and the entire panel flashed red, emitting a low, mocking buzz. "Not that one," Lyra muttered, leaning in. She brushed him aside, hands dancing over the interface with a confidence that surprised him. Clan Soren used sigils, not numbers. You have to trace the spiral. Like this. The panel shimmered. A hidden door hissed open, releasing a wave of cold, stale air. Lyra shot Mark a triumphant look. "See? Sometimes instinct is better than brute force." Mark chuckled, rising. "Remind me to listen to you more often." They slipped inside, the door whispering closed behind them. The chamber beyond was small, circular, and lined with ancient vaults. The silence pressed close, thick with secrets. In the center, a plinth held a single data shard, its surface etched with a curling sigil, a stylized feline eye surrounded by flame. Lyra froze, her breath caught, tail lashing in disbelief. That's my clan's mark." Mark frowned, moving to her side. "Clan Soren?" Lyra nodded, trembling. "They said we were wiped out in the purges. There shouldn't be anything left." She reached out, hands shaking, and lifted the shard. As her fingers brushed the surface, golden-orange light bloomed, projecting flickering images into the air. A child. Her child self. Blue-skinned and pink-haired, cowered in the shadows while armored figures dragged her parents away. A woman's voice, distorted by age and static, whispered, "Hide her. She must survive, no matter the cost." Lyra's knees buckled. Mark caught her, steadying her as she watched the memory play out. The child running, chased by faceless council guards, then vanishing into the Undercity's maze. The vision faded, leaving only the echo of that desperate command. For a moment, Lyra didn't speak. Her ears lay flat, her eyes wide and glassy. Mark squeezed her shoulder gently. "Lyra, what is it?" "My whole life, I thought I was just another orphan," she whispered, voice raw. "But I was hidden, protected. The council, they wanted me alive, but not for mercy, for something else." She scanned the rest of the data shard. Files flashed by. Lists of council rituals, diagrams of the amphitheater's foundations, records of offerings made to appease the ancient power beneath the city. Her own name appeared, over and over, alongside the words, "Final sacrifice, Soren lineage required." The truth struck like a blow. Lyra staggered back, eyes wild. They raised me to fight, made me suffer. All of it. A game to them, to prepare me for sacrifice. Mark's fists clenched. You're not their pawn, you never were. Footsteps thundered in the distance. An alarm shrieked, red light pulsing along the vault's rim. Jax's voice crackled through the calm. Guards inbound, move, now! Lyra stood frozen, the data shard pressed to her chest, unable to move. Mark didn't hesitate. He swept her up. The data shard clutched in her trembling hands and charged for the far wall. A vent grill beckoned. Mark dropped to one knee, forced it open with a grunt, and hauled Lyra inside. They crawled through the narrow service duct, the low whine of energy weapons slicing the air behind them. Lyra pressed her forehead to the metal, eyes squeezed shut as the world tilted around her. Mark's voice was gentle but urgent. Lyra, stay with me. She didn't answer. The anger simmered beneath her shock, heat building until it burst forth. She slammed a fist against the duct's wall, voice breaking. My life, my pain, all of it. They planned it. I was never free, never even real to them. Mark turned, gripping her shoulders. The duct was dark, their faces inches apart. You're real to me, not because of your bloodline or what they want from you. You're a fighter, Lyra. You made choices they never expected. That's what matters. She tried to look away, but he held her gaze. You're not just some princess meant to die for their power. You're the woman who survived everything they threw at you, who inspired others to fight. Lyra's breath came ragged, her eyes wet with unshed tears. But it was all a lie. Every friend I lost, every scar, they shaped me for a slaughterhouse. Maybe, Mark said softly, but you became more than they ever dreamed. They wanted a sacrifice. They got a rebellion instead. Lyra let out a shaky laugh, some of the anger melting into something bittersweet. You make it sound so simple. Mark smiled, brushing a strand of pink hair from her cheek. It isn't. But you're not alone. I stand with you, Lyra, whatever comes. For a moment, the world narrowed to the warmth of his hand, the intensity of his gaze. The pain and confusion faded, leaving only the two of them in the darkness, bound by loss and something fragile. Hope. Lyra swallowed hard. Everything I believed is gone. But maybe that's not all bad. Maybe it means I get to choose what's next. Mark squeezed her hand. We do it together. Your choice. Your future. The whir of patrol drones echoed above. Lyra drew a shaky breath, gathering her resolve. Then let's get out of here. We have a rebellion to finish, and a council to destroy. Their connection deepened, a quiet certainty blooming between them as they slipped through the ducts toward the uncertain light beyond, data shard in hand and fate suddenly, finally, their own. At sunrise, the city's battered skyline flared gold, casting fractured beams through the shattered windows of the rebels' new hideout. Mark was running a weapons diagnostic when the door guard's urgent hiss broke the hush. All eyes turned as an imposing figure swept inside, her presence commanding silence even among the battle-hardened. Elira Soren stood tall, her posture regal as a queen's. Ceremonial tattoos traced ancient patterns along her blue skin, marking her as the last unbroken matriarch of Clan Soren. Her gaze was sharp as obsidian and just as unforgiving. A retinue of silent guards hovered behind her, but it was clear Elira required no protection. Lyra straightened, tension radiating through her slender frame. Her ears twitched, tail coiling in agitation. Mark stood at her side, wary and ready. Elira's eyes swept the room, coming to rest on Lyra. You have grown, niece. I see the Council's games did not break you. Lyra's voice was steady, if brittle. I survived. That was never their intent. A hint of a smile touched Elira's lips, though it carried little warmth. Survival is the first lesson of our bloodline. But you are not here by accident. The time has come to claim your heritage. Lyra's eyes narrowed. You want me to stand before the clans, raise the old banners, and play the lost princess so they'll follow you into another war? Lyra inclined her head, tattoos catching the light. You are Soren. Your birthright is power, not obscurity. Rally the clans, lead them, crush the council before they erase us forever. Mark bristled, sensing the pressure building around Lyra. She isn't a pawn to be moved on your board. She has friends. Elira cut him off with a look, her voice like cold steel. You have no place here, human. This is a matter for Soren blood. Lyra stepped forward, chin lifted. He stays. I won't abandon my friends, and I won't fight your war alone. Mark risked everything for me. I trust him. Elira's eyes flashed, contempt edging her tone. You would risk your destiny for a fleeting attachment to an off-worlder? Sentiment is a weakness, Lyra. Love and mercy are luxuries we can't afford in war. Lyra's tail lashed, stubborn pride flaring. If I have to choose between being your weapon and being myself, I choose myself. And I choose Mark. For a moment, the room was a taut wire, everyone waiting to see which woman would break first. Then Elira's lips curled in reluctant respect. You have your mother's defiance. Very well, keep your human. But do not mistake kindness for strength, child. The council will show you neither. She turned, her voice dropping to a warning. If you falter, the clans will tear you apart before the council ever has the chance. Elira swept out, her retinue trailing. The silence she left behind was heavy, but Lyra stood taller, as if some ancient weight had finally shifted from her shoulders. Mark stepped in close, voice gentle. You all right? Lyra let out a shaky breath. She means well, in her own way. But I won't let her make me into something I'm not. Jax clapped Mark on the back, drawing the moment to a close. Come on, human. We need those hands of yours in the tunnels. Mark followed Jax into the armory's underbelly, where scavenged weapons and mismatched armor were stacked in nervous anticipation. The outcasts watched him warily, their distrust an almost physical presence. But Mark got to work, stripping down a Soren pulse rifle and rebuilding the emitter with parts from a human railgun. Dex, her cybernetic arms sparking as she welded a blade, whistled low. Didn't think you had the touch, Halden. Mark grinned, glancing up from his handiwork. War teaches you to improvise. Doesn't matter what side of the galaxy you're on. A young Soren boy with a singed ear inched closer, curiosity winning over fear. Can you show me how to fix this? He asked, holding out a battered sidearm. Mark nodded. Sure. Come here. As the hours stretched, Mark's easy patience and technical skill began to win over the outcasts. Where there had been suspicion, now there was nods of respect. Grudging, but genuine. Meanwhile, Lyra moved through the rebels like a flame, her presence stirring hope in old warriors and the newly frightened alike. She listened to their fears, their stories, offering not empty promises but honest solidarity. And always, Mark was somewhere nearby, a silent anchor in the swirling chaos. In a rare lull, Lyra found Mark alone in the shadowy corner of the armory tunnels, his hands stained with oil, his eyes tired but alive. She hesitated, then slipped into his arms. Thank you, for not letting them turn me into something I hate. He smiled, brushing dust from her cheek. You're not alone, Lyra. Not now. She looked up, her golden eyes shining. I don't want to be. Their faces hovered close, the tension of battle and longing finally snapping. Lyra leaned in, her whiskers brushing his skin as their lips met. The kiss was fierce, born of desperation and hope, a promise that, for a moment, they could be more than survivors. Mark pulled back, breathless. We'll get through this. Lyra rested her forehead to his. Together. Their moment fractured as Dex burst in, urgent. Council patrols on the move. They're massing by the outer ring. We don't have much time. Jax's voice echoed from the next chamber. Everyone to positions. If we wait, we die. Lyra squeezed Mark's hand. No more running. We strike now, or we're finished. Mark nodded, grabbing his makeshift rifle. Together, they rushed into the fray, their bond a small but defiant light as the city braced for war and the first tremors of rebellion thundered through the tunnels. The uprising began at dawn, the city trembling beneath the weight of rebellion. Sirens wailed as darkness faded, and the rebels surged from the tunnels like a living tide. Mark raced at the front, the cool bite of morning air sharpening his mind. His outsider's eyes caught what the council's strategists could never see. Blind spots, patterns, weaknesses shaped by arrogance, and centuries of unchallenged rule. Left flank now, he shouted, and Dex's team darted into position, hurling pulse grenades that shattered a barricade of shimmering shields. Mira's informants triggered blackout nodes, plunging the council's defenders into a fog of darkness pierced by the rebels' stuttering fire. All around, outcasts and Soren loyalists moved as one, the rhythm of hope and fury driving them forward. In the thick of the melee, Lyra fought at Mark's side. Her blade flashed, a streak of silver and blood, her movements a blend of feline grace and learned brutality. Mark covered her with precise shots from a modified rifle, never needing to speak to know where she would move next. Their trust ran deeper than words, forged in fire and betrayal. "On your right," she called, spinning to parry an armored guard. Mark dropped the attacker with a single shot, and Lyra flashed him a wild, fierce grin. "Not bad, off-worlder." He grinned back, chest heaving. "Try to keep up, princess." The banter was a shield against fear. All around them, the council's forces faltered, driven back through the city's twisting corridors and shattered plazas. Every strike team reported in. Jax and Mira had breached the control towers, Dex was sabotaging the power grid, and the people of the city, long cowed, joined in a rising chorus of defiance. The council, rattled and desperate, retreated to their sanctum at the heart of the arena, the ancient structure looming like a wounded beast above the chaos. The rebels massed outside, tension crackling in the broken streets. Mark gathered the core team in a shadowed alley. "We need to end this. They'll hole up, waiting for us to batter ourselves senseless against their defenses." Mira's eyes narrowed. "They have every exit sealed." Lyra's ears flattened, her tail flicking with anxiety. "We can't wait. The longer we stall, the more time they have to call in reinforcements." Mark's gaze locked with hers. "Then we give them something they can't ignore. You surrender. They'll let you in. Royal blood is too valuable. While they're distracted, I'll slip through the water tunnels and open the gates." Lyra's eyes widened. "That's insane. You could die." He took her hand, voice low but steady. "We're out of time. Trust me." She cupped his face, her touch trembling but sure. "You come back to me, Mark Halden. That's not a request." Their lips met in a fierce kiss, a promise and a prayer. When they parted, the city seemed to hold its breath. "I'll see you soon," Mark whispered. Lyra nodded, squaring her shoulders. "For the clans." "For us." As the rebels prepared the ruse, Mark vanished into the shadows, slipping down into the labyrinthine underbelly of the arena. Cold water swirled around his boots as he crawled through the ancient tunnels, his heart pounding with every echo. The walls pulsed with an otherworldly energy, the air thick with the memory of old blood. He emerged at a grated entrance beneath the sanctum. Above, the council's sanctum pulsed with unnatural light. Mark listened, heart hammering, as Lyra's voice drifted down from the chamber. I surrender, she declared, her words clear and unbroken. I am the last of Soren, do what you will. The council, draped in crystal robes, ringed her with predatory anticipation. The ritual is complete, intoned the High Chancellor. Your blood will wake the old power, and our reign shall endure. Mark's eyes widened as he crept through the shadows. At the arena's heart, a crystalline altar hummed, the floor beneath it etched with ancient sigils. A monstrous, slumbering entity stirred in the darkness, a thing of shifting eyes and hungry, whispering minds. Every drop of blood spilled in the games had seeped down to this place, feeding its endless hunger. He realized the truth with a jolt. The arena's cruelty was never only for entertainment. It was a machine of sacrifice, and Lyra's royal heritage was the last key to break the seal. Mark moved quickly, disabling the security nodes with hands that shook only a little. He slipped into the sanctum, heart in his throat. Lyra knelt in chains, defiant despite the circle of armed council guards. He burst from the shadows, weapon raised. "Let her go!" Chaos erupted. Mark's shots rang out, dropping 2 guards before the others turned on him. Lyra used the distraction, her claws slicing through her bonds. Together, back to back, they fought the last defenders. Mark caught a blade in his side, grunting as pain tore through him, but he shielded Lyra as she broke free. "No!" the Chancellor shrieked, unleashing a pulse of raw energy. Mark staggered, vision blurring. Lyra's fury exploded, her eyes blazing gold, her movements unstoppable. She tore through the council's ranks, every blow fueled by years of pain and stolen hope. The entity below the arena shrieked in frustration as the sigil shattered. The council fell, one after another, their reign ending in blood and ruin. As the stronghold trembled and the ceiling cracked, Mark slumped to his knees. Lyra caught him, cradling his head in her lap as dust and sunlight poured through the ruins. "Stay with me, Mark. Don't you dare leave me now," she whispered, voice trembling. He smiled weakly, fingers brushing her cheek. "You did it, Lyra. You're free." Around them, the rebels surged into the chamber, cheers rising as the city's oppressors fell. Lyra held Mark close, her tears mingling with his blood, the two of them at the heart of a new dawn, victory claimed, and a future born from the ashes. Months later, Mark, still healing, stood beside Lyra atop the amphitheater's highest tier, the early sun painting the city in hues of gold and blue. The ancient structure, once an arena of blood and spectacle, had become a symbol of renewal. No longer did the roar of the crowd demand violence. Now, laughter and song drifted from open courtyards below. Mark rested his weight on a polished cane, his wounds not fully faded, every movement a reminder of the cost of revolution. He gazed out over the city, marveling at its transformation. New banners hung from shattered towers, their colors, blue, silver, and pink, blending the legacies of Soren, rebels, and outcasts. The old amphitheater's sands had been replaced by a living garden, tended by hands that once wielded weapons. Mark watched children, human, Corellian, Soren, race across the grass, their laughter echoing in a place where only pain had reigned before. Down below, former fighters, scarred, resilient, walked the avenues in uniforms of peacekeeping blue, their eyes scanning for trouble but their hands open in greeting. The city's wounds were slow to heal, scars still raw from years of oppression and war, but hope was rising. Murals bloomed along broken walls, painted by artists who'd once been prisoners. The air was no longer thick with ozone and dread, but alive with the scent of flowers and the distant promise of rain. Lyra appeared at Mark's side, her blue skin radiant in the sunlight, pink hair catching the wind. Her golden eyes softened as she took in the view. She wore no crown, only a simple sash bearing her clan's sigil, a sign of leadership chosen, not inherited. Her whiskers twitched as she smiled, and her tail curled contentedly around her waist. Mark let out a slow breath. Hard to believe it's the same place. Lyra glanced at him, eyes sparkling. It isn't. Not anymore. You helped make sure of that. He shrugged, a crooked smile touching his lips. Didn't do it alone. She leaned on the railing beside him, gaze sweeping the city. No more blood games. The council's secrets are buried, the old entity banished. For the first time, the clans and the council's survivors are talking, truly talking about how to share this place. Mark watched a group of children draw chalk sigils on the flagstones below. Think it'll last? Lyra's eyes narrowed in thought. It has to. No more rulers behind closed doors. No more sacrifices. Shared rule. Freedom for all. Human. Sorin. Corellian. Every outcast who fought for change. We'll make the laws together. Protect each other's voices. If we fail, the old shadows will creep back. A silence grew between them, gentle but charged. Mark studied her, uncertain. And us? He said at last, voice quieter than he meant. What about our future? Lyra turned, drawing closer. The morning light played across her face, softening the strong lines and battle-earned scars. You still don't get it, do you? She teased, her whiskers twitching in amusement. He met her gaze, heart pounding. Maybe not. I'm not Sorin. I don't know the rules. Lyra's smile widened. Then let's make our own. She reached for his hand, her fingers cool against his. I don't care what the clans say. I don't care what the old council would have thought. Let them talk. What matters is what we build together. Mark's eyes widened, hope and disbelief mingling in his expression. Are you saying? She stepped closer, pressing her palm to his chest, her golden eyes never leaving his. Yes, I'm proposing, Mark Halden. Here, atop the place that tried to break us. Will you stay, not just as an outsider, not just as a hero? Will you be my partner? My equal? The city below them seemed to hush, as if waiting for his answer. Mark laughed, breathless. You're full of surprises. Lyra grinned, fierce and beautiful. That's a yes? He nodded, drawing her close. That's a yes. Whatever comes next, I want it with you. Their kiss was tender and fierce all at once, the kind born not just of longing but of hard-won trust and shared scars. The city, seeing them above the amphitheater, erupted in cheers and whistles, first a few, then many, until the whole square below was a riot of celebration. Their union became a symbol, stories spreading through the streets and over the comm networks, of a Sorin leader and a human rebel, proof that love and courage could reshape a world divided by fear. Children repeated their tale as a promise, that even those born into darkness could reach for the light together. Mark held Lyra close, the warmth of her body steadying the old ache in his side. Ready for the future? He murmured. She rested her head against his shoulder, tail twining around his wrist. As long as we face it together. Above the city, with the dawn breaking and hope blooming in every corner, Mark and Lyra stood united. Whatever challenges waited beyond the horizon, they would meet them side by side, their love a new legend whispered in the light of a new era. Our story ends here. Make sure you subscribe, press the like button, and tell us in the comments what stood out to you the most in this video. Your feedback means a lot to our team. You'll discover many more captivating stories on our channel. See you in the next one.